London's FT Business tonight, the headlines. The Bundesbank cuts 25 basis points from the discount and Lombard rates. Fraud investigation begins as creditors meet over the stricken German property company Schneider, and a rise in exports to Europe narrows the UK's trade gap. Hello, I'm Melinda Whitstock. Later in the programme, we'll be looking at recovery projections for retailer Laura Ashley, now in the midst of a management reshuffle. And we'll tell you how the soon-to-be-signed GATT agreement will affect consumers. We begin with a check on what's been happening on the main European stock markets, most weaker despite those German rate cuts. The FTSE 100 index down 14.1 earlier in the day. It was down almost 30. The DAX index in Frankfurt closed earlier in the day down 10.48, and the CAC 40 in Paris down 13.3. A look now at the Dow Jones. It's very nervy, but that now is just down 0.3. Over on the foreign exchanges, the pound has fallen nearly half a pfennig at 2 marks 52. The dollar is down by nearly a third of a pfennig at 1 mark 70. And the pound has gained just a fifth of a cent at 147.79. The Bundesbank has cut both of its 2 official interest rates this afternoon. Both the discount and Lombard rates have been cut by 1/4 of a point. The Lombard rate now stands at 6.5%, and the discount rate has been set at 5%. The news, in customary Bundesbank style, caught the financial markets by surprise. Before the announcement this afternoon, some commentators were even feeling that prospects for a Lombard rate cut were receding. The Austrian, Swiss, Dutch and Belgian central banks have all followed the Bundesbank's lead and cut their own interest rates. Bronwyn Curtis of Deutsche Bank joins me now. Bronwyn, well, it finally happened, the much-heralded, much-wanted discount rate cut, and yet bonds and equities certainly didn't seem too pleased by the news. Why is that?
Well, I think they were quite pleased at first. At first, we had a very positive reaction, and then I think the market's nervous already. We had this problem on the helicopters that the Iraqis may have shot down, and that tended to unsettle the US market, which unsettled all the other markets. And I think it's really a combination of things, but I do think generally it is positive. It does show that the Bundesbank is continuing to...
This is a highly sensitive issue, that the Mittelstand, the small business sector.
Here is Brian Williams.
Good day once again. We are coming back on the air now with the view from the Pentagon of what President Clinton called this morning a tragedy, the shooting down of 2 U.S. helicopters full of UN and possibly U.S. personnel by 2 United States fighter bombers in the skies over the no-fly zone in northern Iraq. We're going to go to Pentagon correspondent Ed Rabel, who is going to set the scene for us. Ed, and what are the questions that we expect to be answered by the Pentagon at this upcoming briefing?
Well, we hope that they'll be able to answer how this could have happened. After all, there are specific rules of engagement under which United States aircraft are cleared to fire on targets. It is still to be explained how, under very rigid command and control systems, this could have happened. However, I might point out that the UH-60 Black Hawk helicopter on which the State Department and UN personnel were flying has a profile or a configuration that is not unlike the Russian-built Mi-24 Hind helicopter. Now, the F-15...
And now we go over live to ITN in London for a world news update.
The U.S. government has confirmed that American jets have shot down 2 helicopters carrying United Nations personnel over northern Iraq. More than 20 people, including non-Americans, are believed to have been on board. At a news conference, President Clinton has just expressed his terrible sorrow.
According to initial reports, 2 American helicopters were mistakenly identified as Iraqi helicopters and shot down by United States aircraft. I have met with Secretary Perry this morning. I have talked with him and with General Shalikashvili, and I have instructed him to lead a full inquiry into the circumstances of this terrible incident. We will get the facts, and when we get the facts, we will make them available to the American people and to the people of Britain, France, and Turkey, our partners in Operation Provide Comfort.
NATO aircraft buzzed Bosnian Serb positions today following shelling of the airport and town of Tuzla. Elsewhere, there were reports of Serb forces threatening United Nations troops near Sarajevo after Bosnian Serbs detained 15 Canadian soldiers. And 11 French relief workers from a French charity being held in Lukovica, charged with trying to smuggle ammunition into Sarajevo. Rwanda's international airport came under missile attack today as the last Belgian forces prepared to leave the capital. It's not clear whether flights out of Kigali are still possible. Foreign mediators have failed to bring peace to South Africa ahead of its first all-race elections before talks even got off the ground. The failure follows the insistence by Zulu leader Mangosuthu Buthelezi that the date of the election should be put on the mediation agenda. Coming up, Richard Lindley with the ITN World News.
Next on NBC Super Channel, Katie Couric and Bryant Gumbel comment on the day's national and international news in Today. That's right after the break.
Tonight on NBC Super Channel at 7:30, On the Air enters the glamorous world of the celebrity look-alike to meet the other Michael Jackson. At 8 o'clock, Now with Brokaw and Couric features the #1 country singer Reba McEntire. Ushuaia at 9 has intrepid polar explorer Mike Stroud in the chair, with films of the volcanoes of Hawaii and a journey to the desolate but alarmingly beautiful islands of ice. At 10, it's over to the studios of ITN for a roundup of the day's major world news stories. While at 11, it's The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, whose guests include Chevy Chase and country singer Patty Loveless. Programs tonight on NBC Super Channel.
Watching NBC Super Channel.
Good morning. The tobacco industry is under fire this morning over whether cigarette companies manipulate nicotine in order to hook smokers. Congress is looking into ways to regulate cigarettes, a move which the tobacco industry is fighting. Industry officials are expected to defend their product and their industry when Congress grills them today, Thursday, April 14th, 1994.
From NBC News, this is Today with Bryant Gumbel and Katie Couric.
And welcome to Today on this Thursday morning. I'm Katie Couric.
And I'm Matt Lauer, working this side of the studio because Bryant is on assignment, and he'll be back on Monday morning.
And a great assignment it is.
Yeah,
He's
nice.
in Normandy, by the way. In our first half hour this morning, we're going to get into those congressional hearings on the tobacco industry and efforts to bring it under federal regulation. Also in our first half hour, we're going to be talking to Arizona Governor Fife Symington, whose state is suing the federal government to recover the money it spends on services to illegal immigrants. Matt?
Also, Katie, we're going to take a look at our series on nutrition, and today we're going to examine the only way to lose weight permanently. Unfortunately, it is not easy. We'll have a profile of modern dance legend Merce Cunningham. We'll also meet the hot new fashion designer. His name is Richard Tyler, and we'll talk to filmmaker John Waters about Serial Mom. And Jim Fowler is here this morning with a couple of Siberian tigers. I ran into one in the door walking out of the studio. They are spectacular.
Did you run into the big one or the
little
one?
one, luckily.
Lucky
It wasn't
you.
quite as frightening.
That's right. But let's get started with the morning's top news story over at the news desk. And for that, we turn to Elizabeth Vargas. Good morning, Elizabeth.
Good morning, Katie and Matt. Good morning, everyone. On Capitol Hill today, some tough questions for the tobacco industry. A House subcommittee is studying the possibility of regulating cigarettes as drugs. Joe Johns is standing by now on Capitol Hill with more on that story. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Elizabeth. Members of Congress and the industry have a lot to talk about, including what's in cigarettes besides tobacco. A list of 599 tobacco additives guarded as a trade secret by the industry is now being poured over by smoking opponents. The list includes ammonia, pyridine, considered to be an air contaminant by the EPA, and ethyl furoate, which is said to cause liver damage in lab animals. The industry says the additives are the same as those found in many foods.
Each and a very happy birthday, charming lady from our friends at Walt Disney. Okay, look out for possibly some severe weather today in the middle Mississippi Valley. That includes St. Louis and beautiful Kansas City, so be on the lookout. Also, some scattered showers along the Gulf Coast from Pensacola back to New Orleans. Windy and a little snow in the Colorado Rockies, just a little bit, nothing serious, springtime stuff. Otherwise, fantastic. It's going to be 80 here in Washington, 70 in Detroit, about 82 in beautiful downtown Atlanta. east of the Mississippi, except for that middle Mississippi Valley, everything is lovely. Here's what's happening in your world, even as we speak.
What are your impressions? Impressions of space, light, color, texture? What about your dreams? Dreams of a place far away, clear, strong, evocative. And what are your reflections? Personal, heartfelt, moody? At the end of the day, do you seek tranquility? Allow your moods to move from impressions through dreams, via reflections, into a sea of tranquility with a music collection called Moods. Moods contains more than 4 hours of music on 64 tracks, on 4 CDs, or cassettes of musical mood music that will help you wash away the world. Moods is not available in the shops. You get it simply by calling your local number now. Allow 21 days for delivery. Your money back if not completely satisfied. Call now and just go wherever your moods take you.
Go over live to the studios of ITN in London for the World News. It's 7 o'clock.
Welcome to the ITN World News. The headlines. Clinton talks of tragic helicopter incident over Iraq. Foreign mediation of South Africa's election disputes collapses. And French aid workers held hostage by Bosnia Serbs.
Scotland's water.
The future's rebuilding Scotland's waterworks. The government says that needs new money and new managers, businessmen rather than councillors. Many Scots think the long-term plan is privatisation, like in England and Wales.
Thank you very much.
For Scottish Secretary Ian Lang, water just won't go away. He says his plans have been misunderstood. His intentions are clear.
Privatisation is not on the agenda. It was public ownership that was the issue that were concerning people. They thought that we were privatising it. We are not privatising it.
But even here in one of the Tories' Scottish strongholds, Eastwood in Glasgow, party chiefs say the government's policy is not up to scratch.
The people who made a decision on the matter on the Strathclyde referendum, in fact, have got to be listened to, and that we wish to see a majority of elected members on the proposed new water boards.
It's likely none of Scotland's councils will change hands, but the flood of protest against the government's water plans may just sink the Conservatives. They may slide from second to last in seats and votes.
Sun, Surail, what is meer? It's water!
The headlines again. President Clinton has described the shooting down of 2 U.S. helicopters by American jets over northern Iraq as a tragedy. The latest death toll stands at 25. It includes personnel from America, Britain, France and Turkey. Bosnian Serb leaders said on Thursday their army chiefs would decide on Friday whether to reopen talks with UN officials and revive a peace process brought to a halt by NATO airstrikes earlier this week. NATO aircraft have overflown Bosnian Serb positions near Tuzla and have again warned them that the mandate to conduct airstrikes in the Sarajevo exclusion zone is still in force. And an attempt by international mediators to reach an agreement between all sides in South Africa ahead of the election scheduled for later this month has failed, almost before it began. That's the ITN World News. From me, Richard Lindley, and all the team here in London, goodbye.
Before our next program, here's the forecast for tomorrow's European weather.
tomorrow on...
Watching Market Wrap at half past the hour. Welcome to our international viewers who join us each day at this time. I'm Bill Griffith.
And I'm Neil Cavito. The stock market, at least, is measured by the popular Dow 30 up, but the broader market average is not quite so fortunate. Let's take a look at what was going on today. 3663.25, about a 1 3/4 point gain in the Dow Industrials. As for the broader market averages, again, mixed. The S&P 500 up about 1/10 of a point. The American Stock Exchange gave up 2/3 of a point, and the NASDAQ really pressured again by some of those semiconductor issues. Intel down today appreciably, off 0.07 to 727.31. The long bond continues to lose ground right now, making about 19 points that it's lost from the highs we had back in October. That represents about $190 for $1,000 face amount. The yield now at nearly 7.30%.
Topping the day's business headlines, Ford is going to sell its first nationwide unit for more than $1 billion. It will also boost its dividend a nickel on the common stock, split its shares 2-for-1, and expand its St. Louis minivan plant. President Clinton acknowledges that U.S. jets downed 2 American helicopters over Iraq in the early morning hours, killing 26 people aboard. And the Teamsters are scheduled to hold a news conference at this hour to announce that they will resume negotiations with an umbrella group representing the management of trucking companies now being struck by that union. Those are the headlines. Let's see what was actively traded on the New York Stock Exchange today.
One quick footnote on the Ford item. As Bill was speaking there, Ford is now on the wire saying that it expects a first quarter profit despite the $440 million first nationwide charge. Any other details from the company will keep you posted. In the meantime, let's go down to Roy Blumberg, standing by live at our Wall Street Bureau with his read on the day today. Hi, Roy.
Well, hello, Neil. Hello, Bill. Not much progress for the Dow, but the underlying market continues to deteriorate just a little bit. Let's take a look at our technical indicators, show you where we stand. First breath, we had 923 stocks up, 1,215 down, and that is weaker breadth than a Dow up 2 points. The breadth numbers have been generally a little bit weaker than the market, and this is a negative. As for the volume, 275 million shares. We continue to have slower volume here. Lower volume is generally a negative for the market, so this is. As for the advanced decline line, well, with the breadth numbers continuing to be weak, the advanced decline line remains in a downtrend and seems unlikely to confirm any test of the lows, meaning the advanced decline line suggesting a continuing weaker market. This is a negative. As for new highs and new lows, 13 new highs today, 133 new lows. We've had a slight expansion in daily new lows here in the last few days, but the new low number is much better than it was a couple of weeks ago. We had a peak number of 693, and I don't believe we're going to break that number. This indicator will likely turn positive on any test of the lows. As for the ARMS index, 10-day moving average of ARMS at 0.92. That's actually on the overbought side of neutral, but a market that's gone down over 10%, there's no way it can be overbought. This indicator is just not functioning properly right now. We're just going to call it neutral. As for our trend watch, long-term trend is up, intermediate-term trend is down, and the short-term trend remains down. Well, Bill and Neil, tomorrow could be an exciting day. It's option expiration day, and we have industrial production. Both things could affect the market a lot. Barring any huge surprises there, we still have basically the same scenario. The market should have a consolidation in a trading range for a little while longer, then work its way down towards the lows again. Back to the studio.
All right, Roy, thank you very much. Roy Blumberg from our Wall Street Bureau. Very quickly, want to update you on the money supply figures. They are out right now for the latest week. M1 up $1.5 billion. M2 was down $400 million, as you can see there. M3 up $300 million. This is for the week ended April 4th of this year.
Well, our chief economist, Bill Woolman, is off today on assignment, but in his place we have Joe Carson, chief economist at Dean Witter Reynolds. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon.
Business inventories were up in the latest period, but so were the sales even more. Will that continue, or is something going to give here, do you think?
Well, most firms ended in 1993 with the lowest inventory positions in 10, 15 years, and they're starting to build inventories up, but demand is rising faster than production. So
You're watching NBC Super Channel.
From the NBC studios in Burbank, The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. Featuring Branford Marsalis and The Tonight Show Band. Tonight, Jay welcomes Chevy Chase, Nicolette Sheridan, and the music of Patty Loveless.
some terrific news for you, folks. Especially you that live right here in town. L.A. just voted the most livable city. How about that? Okay, it was by Soldier of Fortune magazine. But still, no, it's the beginning. It's the beginning. Actually, those of us in L.A. that live here are very proud of our highway crews. This is pretty amazing. They managed to repair the collapsed Santa Monica Freeway in record time. You saw that thing on the news. It's pretty amazing. It's just the whole thing. That goes to prove. See, the government gets things done when it really wants to. Huge earthquake destroys the freeway, yet they managed to fix the whole thing in less than 3 months. Now,
Two things, yeah.
Yeah.
Hurt my front.
Now, when you watch the show now, and you see the guys who, like Chris Farley. You ever seen Chris Farley take a
Now,
fall?
I saw, you know, it's funny you should bring that up, because Chris Farley, who's weighing in at about 400, and he's clearly not doing a lot of jogging and staying in shape. I saw this guy take a fall where he just fell straight forward.
I know, he just goes
straight forward on his face, and I can't, he obviously put something there to, or maybe there's so much chest that it just takes the fall and he never hits his face, but I've never seen anything like that. I thought, this guy's going to hurt himself.
He came out here once, and, you know, and he just throws himself into it, and he's...
Real Personal deals with intimate adult issues. Our frank and open exchanges about human sexuality may not be suitable for everyone. Viewer discretion is advised. Live from Studio 2 at CNBC, this is Real Personal with award-winning journalist Bob Berkowitz.
And good evening. Tonight, how we sabotage our sexuality and ultimately our relationships. Let me give you a couple of examples of what I mean. How many of us have sabotaged a love affair because we feared, here's that word, rejection? Or how about this one? We had to be right no matter what. And more than a few of us have trashed our sexuality and our relationships because we held on to our anger for dear life. Which leads us to our question for you tonight. What's preventing you from getting the kind of sex you want? Well, please meet a good friend of ours, Dr. Judith Sills. She's the author of Excess Baggage, Getting Out of Your Own Way. There's the book right there on the screen. Judith, glad to have you back.
Nice to be here.
When we talk about excess baggage and the sexual content, what are we talking about?
We're talking about that part of our personality that we just cannot see. You know, it's a blind spot.
Yeah.
But it gets in the way. It makes us tougher to love.
Yeah.
Irritates our lovers when we hope to make them happy. And it makes us annoyed with them, makes us tense in bed. It's an obstacle.
It's almost like we're saying, things are going too well, I've got to find a way to screw things up.
No.
No?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm not even sure I believe in that one. You know, although I've heard of that one a lot. I don't think...
You've never seen anybody do that?
I'll tell you, I've heard the language.
Yeah.
But in fact, I really don't think we say, I can't stand this happening.
No, not on a conscious level.
Even unconsciously.
Okay.
I really think what happens is we just automatically, we're ourselves. And that has a lot of strengths.
Right.
You know, like take a person who needs to be right.
All right.
Fabulous person. Does everything he should do.
Impeccable.
He gets the job done and gets it done right. Gets every job done.
Right.
Runs the
Mr.
world.
Reliable.
Well, he runs the world. He runs every company. I'm sure he runs this company. Because that's how you have to be today.
Of
It's
course.
a strength. Taken to excess. If you are one of these people, male or female.
She was the White House correspondent and senior diplomatic correspondent for USA Today. Tonight, a real smart info babe. Live from your nation's capital, it's time for Equal Time.
Live from the CNBC studio in Washington, D.C., this is Equal Time.
Hello again, and welcome to the second live Equal Time in Evolution. Not only great guests, but now a veritable movable feast of cool co-hosts, too. Rejoining us in the co-host catbird seat is our snappy bride-to-be friend from New York, Congresswoman Susan Molinari. Our guest tonight is journalist, author Johanna Newman, whose career has been a movable feast. As USA Today's senior diplomatic correspondent, she moved around the globe and back many times with former Secretary of State James A. Baker III. Today she's a senior fellow at the Freedom Forum Media Studies Center at Columbia and is writing a book called Lights, Camera, War, which is due to be finished this fall. Johanna, thanks for coming out.
Thank you for having me, Mary.
This beautiful spring night.
Yeah, all the way back from New York.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know you had to make a trip in.
I commute all the time.
We're impressed.
She doesn't have much of an accent, though, from just coming from New York.
I've just been there a few months.
You'll get it.
Yeah,
You'll get it.
I know,
it only
it's
takes
hard.
a couple.
We'll teach it to you.
It's hard not to pick it up on the subway.
Now, Johanna, before we get into your business, we have to get into your personal life, which...
Oh, my.
Because that's what the show is all about.
It's really
It's
time to pry. It's time to pry. It's none of our business.
Better title.
Not one whit of our business, but of course we're going to ask you about your husband, Ron Nesson, who was a press secretary to former President Ford. You're a Democrat.
True.
He was a very combative press secretary. And furthermore, after that, he did a radio commentary called The Media Inside, in which he took on
You have a good research department.
Well, I'm nosy too. So this commentary was designed to be do a critique of the media. So tell us what a Newman-Nesson dinner is like.
Well, it's funny that you should ask, because we always say that Carville and Matlin got the idea from us, that we were the original mixed marriage. We agree on very little politically. We have a continuous debate in the House about politics.
That number.
Yes, but to control the vehicle somehow. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
If it's performed properly, they all walk away going, wow, that was great.
I think it's very difficult to sustain this type of working relationship.
As we explore different aspects of today's fascinating world. You're watching
Only there.
with Clive Pierce.
Excuse me, are you Meryl Streep?
I didn't believe one word you said.
Is Dick Tracy the hero becoming Dick Tracy the cad? Calvin, good morning.
Good morning, Katie, and thank you.
You've recently been the home of the Taking of Pride by Caravaggio.
Geraldo Rivera.